Mark, you and we connected last year, and then we spoke in January of this year, and you and I talked about Q. So, what is your thoughts about Q? What really fascinated me was Q was validating your prophecy when you were way ahead of the curve 2 years and you were talking about military tribunals, and then Q came onto the scene and Q begins to validate everything you say. I was just blown away. So what are your thoughts about Q?
Q to me is absolutely legit. Q to me has been mind blowing for me, like you just talked about, and the reason I know that Q is legit is because everything he's saying is lining up with the prophecies. And I want people to understand, I take no glory and no credit for these prophecies. I give it all to the Lord Jesus Christ, who is the Spirit of prophecy. And that's how I know Q is in fact legit, is because everything he's saying is lining up with what the Lord has spoken through these prophecies.
One story I'm going to share. So Q talks about, as of right now, there's 55,000 federal sealed indictments. So earlier this year, I had lunch with a very high level White House person. I simply asked him, I'm doing research, and I understand at the time there was about 35,000 federal sealed indictments. And he said to me, I can't answer that question for you, but all I can say is, with a smile on his face, no comment. And in my mind, that was all I needed to know.
Right.
So, in terms of I was going to jump over to, actually, let's talk about this prophecy about two will be shaken. Two will be taken, three will be shaken, about the ex-presidents.
Okay. That was called the Evil Crew of 32. I'm getting it out here. I'm turning to my prophecies. That was written January 16th, 2018, and it was talking about these leaders. Woe to you leaders who stand in the way of my agenda but call yourself mine. And the Lord was calling them basically, you brood of vipers. My divine judgment is being poured out on the leaders of the United States of America and my church. So, the two will be taken and three will be shaken. These are the five ex-presidents. When you go back to Hurricane Harvey, these guys, they were using it as a platform to attack President Trump as a fundraiser for the Hurricane Harvey relief victims. And it was nothing more than a platform to attack the president. And that's when God came out and says, I'm going to expose you guys. You guys are going to go down, and you're going to see, probably one, two, three. You're going to probably see three ex-presidents charged and possibly even go to prison. Obama is going to prison. I can tell you that that much I know. As far as the other two, there's a very good possibility that two of those could be going as well. These guys are corrupt, and we have not even scratched the surface of what's come out on these guys. So two will be taken, which means they will be removed from the face of the earth, and they will be signs for things. And three will be shaken. In other words, they will be shaken to the core, arrested, charged with treason, whatever the case may be. So you're going to see a lot of stuff coming about concerning these ex-presidents. And even it says that, yes, the Supreme Court will be shaken. So God says it again, that the Supreme Court will be shaken. They're not immune to the backdoor deal. So there's something going on the Supreme Court that nobody knows about. But God sees it all, and he's going to expose it.
It's interesting. Trump has allocated, I believe now, $300 million to renovate Gitmo. And
right.
So, to me, why would he be doing that unless he said, he has new customers coming? So, why would he do that?
Well, you got to look at the executive orders that he has signed also concerning military tribunals. He signed one. He has signed another one that doesn't go into effect until January, which is the big one, I believe. He's got another one he signed, I think, in December. Don't quote me on that, about where they're seizing assets, monies of people who are involved in against human rights or something like that. All of these things, and you're looking at all these things that he's doing right now, they're setting the stage for going after the deep state, for seizing their assets, seizing their money, keeping them from being able to operate. Their comms have gone dark. They can't communicate now. They're having a hard time communicating. So all these things are taking place, and what people have to understand is that you're not going to hear any of this on the mainstream media, none of it. So in order to hear this, you're going to have to follow Q or go to the president's Twitter page, which is what I tell people, follow him on Twitter and get the truth straight from the source. You're going to have to bypass the media because they are not reporting on this stuff.
Speaking of which, so if you go to whitehouse.gov, you can see the executive order that Trump signed December 21st of last year. And again, that's going after all the money and all the human trafficking, which leads me to your next prophecy. You're talking about the Vatican. I know I think that came to you earlier this year, but you didn't release it till a little bit later. But it says literally this is going to rock the entire world. And what's interesting about that is every day now we're hearing news about this pedophilia. So, for example, just came out last month, the state of Pennsylvania, you had 300 priests abusing over 1,000 children. Now, story came out this week, the state attorney generals in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Illinois, Missouri, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Wyoming are now doing investigations on the Catholic Church. So right. Can you explain the prophecy, tell the audience, and then the little kicker at the end is there's going to be some great discovery. So any insight to that as well?
Sure. I wrote January 25th, 2018, and then there's the very last part of this prophecy on the archaeological find. I've been sitting on that for a year before I put this in the prophecy. I didn't know where it went. And so I just held on to it. The Lord, doesn't release me to release things until it's ready to go. So there's part of this prophecy that I have been sitting on for like a year. But it says the Spirit of God says the Pope and the Vatican, that's right, the Pope and the Vatican are not furthering my kingdom, but are aiding the kingdom of darkness. Many are saying that this is the last Pope, but it's not for the reasons they think. This will be the last Pope for what I, the Lord God, am about to do. I will expose this Pope and all those under his command for all the corruption he and the Vatican have been involved in for centuries. There's a shaking and quaking coming to the Pope in the Vatican. And basically what he's saying is all the stuff's going to come crumbling down. He's going to expose the inner workings of this ancient beast, so to speak. And so this is going to affect millions across the earth. This is going to affect all religions, not just the Catholic religion. This is going to affect all religions. And what the Lord is saying is my army ready? Are you ready to receive these people? Are you ready to receive my harvest that's going to take place from this exposure? Prepare yourselves for the tsunami of people that will be starving for me and have no place to turn. Prepare now, all roads lead to Rome. Now, the last part of this prophecy is what I was sitting on for a year. It says, the Spirit of God says, there is a dig, an archaeological find that is coming in an underground vault, which will be so cataclysmic that it will rock the Christian world. The answer lies between Jerusalem and Vatican City. Now, what that is, I don't know. People have thought, well, is it relics? Is it the Ark of the Covenant? It could be. I can tell you what I sense. I'm not prophesying this. I can tell you what I sense it is. I sense it's going to be scrolls, manuscripts, things that have purposely been held back from the people to keep them in turmoil or to keep them in some type of just basically the truth. You know what I mean? They're holding back some of the truth, so to speak, of what is actually going on or what has gone on for thousands of years. But the point is that this is going to affect all religions, all of them, period. And what people have to understand, and I don't want people just to harp on the Catholic Church because there's corruption in every denomination out there. And that's what God's going to expose. You're going to find out that there's churches out there, that there's other even denominations that are involved in the sex trafficking, pedophilia. My gosh, they just found a couple of missionaries were with the Clinton Foundation in Haiti, child trafficking kids. So you're going to find out all this stuff's going to come out, is going to come to the surface. This is why I'm telling you and your listeners that there's going to be a mass exodus from the church, period.
I Googled just the dollar amount of human trafficking, and the latest number from 2017, human trafficking globally is $150 billion. So this is a cash crop for the deep state. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And don't think for 1 second that the church doesn't have its own deep state, because it does. And God's going to expose it. God's going to clean it out. He's going to bring it. He's going to bring it down, because see, God's not coming back for his church. God's coming back for a pure, spotless bride. The Lord's coming back for a pure, spotless bride. And you can't have this kind of corruption going on and call yourself a pure, spotless bride.
So the midterms, about 5 weeks away. Once again, the polls, just like in 2016, are saying the Democrats are going to win. They're going to take over the House. They're going to take over the Senate. Right. What's going to happen? I know you're talking about there's going to be a big old red wave. What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be a red tsunami myself, brother. It's going to be beyond a wave. It's going to be a red tsunami. You've got, see, here again, unless you follow Q, you don't know what's going on. That we've had the most resignations probably in history of all CEOs, senators, congressmen, women, mayors, governors. I mean, all these things are being exposed right now because they've been involved in the pedophilia or they've been involved in some type of sex scandal. I mean, so you've got all these people. Look at Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan's not running again. You have people that are saying we're not running again. There's a reason why. You know, even Q said we're not going to be able to get all these people, but some will step down, some will resign, some may suicide out, whatever the case may be. But you're going to see this huge turnover. I think this is going to be probably one of the biggest turnovers in our history at midterm elections right here. And we've got to get out and vote. This is the most important midterm in the history of the United States, period. We've got to get out and vote because, again, when the president's going to have help when the military tribunals break out. He's got to have support. And you got to remember, these guys don't go into effect until January. The new Congress doesn't. So we've got to get out and vote.
Mark, do you think that the arrests will come staggered? Do you think it'll be all at once? And do you think it will come right after the midterms?
You know, I don't have a timing on it, brother. I really do not. The timing's the hardest thing to pick up on in the prophetic. You know, God can't change his mind. You know, God's got a plan. You know, heaven's agenda is being, used through Donald Trump, through the administration. You know, you will see the mass arrests happen. You will see civil unrest. It's going to get pretty edgy for a few months. So I encourage people, you may want to have some food stocked up. You know, just something like you would in a natural disaster because, you know, shipments may be delayed through the civil unrest. You know, how long that lasts, I don't know if it's going to last long or not. I think they're going to come down harder on these people because you got to remember the civil unrest is not going to be people who are fighting what's going on. These are going to be paid agitators. You and I both know who's behind it. So, I mean, that could go on for a little bit. So we just need to be prepared, be praying about the civil unrest. But it's coming. I mean, the mass arrests are coming. Whether it comes in waves or he does it all at once, that part I do not know either.